The clock struck midnight as Amanda froze in terror. The large oak door of the study had suddenly swung open, flooding the dimly lit room with light from the hallway. There stood Mr. Richards, her employer, the man whose mansion she had cleaned for the past year, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. Her heart pounded against her chest as the medical textbook she'd been studying fell from her trembling hands onto the expensive Persian rug. This wasn't part of her job. She wasn't supposed to be here in his private study using his books, sitting in his chair. She was just the maid, the help, and now she might lose the job that was paying for her mother's medical bills. "Mr. Richards, I can explain," Amanda said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her throat felt dry as paper. William Richards stood in the doorway, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the room. His usually perfectly styled hair was slightly messy, as if he'd been running his hands through it. He was still wearing his business suit from earlier in the day, though his tie was loosened and the top button of his shirt undone. His eyes narrowed as they fell on the open medical book on his desk, then moved to the scattered notes Amanda had been taking. "It's nearly 1 a.m, Amanda," he said, his deep voice filling the quiet room. "What are you doing in my study at this hour?" Amanda swallowed hard, trying to find her voice. "I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't think you'd be home until tomorrow. I was studying." Mr. Richards stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The sound made Amanda flinch. She had been working for him for almost a year now, cleaning his massive mansion while he was away on business trips, which was most of the time. At 38, William Richards was one of the youngest billionaires in the country, having built his tech empire from scratch. He was known for being fair but distant, barely acknowledging Amanda on the rare occasions they crossed paths. "Studying?" he asked, moving closer to the desk. "Medical books?" Amanda nodded, her eyes down. "Yes, sir. I'm trying to get into nursing school." To her surprise, instead of firing her on the spot, Mr. Richards pulled up a chair across from her and sat down. The tension in Amanda's body didn't ease. She was 25 years old and had been working as a maid since she was 18, taking care of her sick mother after her father left them. School had always been a distant dream. Until now. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked, his voice calmer now. "About 6 months, sir," Amanda admitted. "Only when you're away and never during work hours. I always finish my cleaning first, I promise. I've been saving for classes, but the textbooks are so expensive, and yours just sit here." Mr. Richards looked at her for a long, uncomfortable moment. His face was unreadable, and Amanda prepared herself for the worst. "You realize this is inappropriate, right?" he finally said. "Yes, sir. I understand, and I'm ready to accept whatever consequences." "Why nursing?" he interrupted, surprising her. Amanda blinked, not expecting the question. "My mother. She's been sick for years. The nurses who care for her, they've been amazing. I want to help people like they help her." Something in Mr. Richards' face changed, softened perhaps, though it was subtle. He leaned forward, looking at her notes. They were detailed, organized, with color coding and diagrams Amanda had drawn herself. "These are impressive," he said quietly. "You do this after cleaning this entire house?" Amanda nodded, still tense. "Yes, sir. I can't afford to go to school full-time yet, so I study when I can." The silence stretched between them. Amanda's future hung in the balance. Would he fire her? Would he call the police and report her for trespassing? Her mother needed her income. They couldn't afford to lose it. Finally, Mr. Richards stood. Amanda's heart sank. This was it. He was going to ask for her keys and tell her not to come back. "Follow me," he said simply, walking toward the door. Amanda hesitated, then quickly gathered her notes and stood. "Should I clear out my locker first?" Mr. Richards paused at the door, looking back at her with confusion. "Your locker? No. Why would you do that?" "I just thought, aren't you firing me?" To her utter shock, Mr. Richards laughed. It was a warm sound, one she had never heard from him before. "Firing you? No, Amanda. I'm not firing you. In fact, I think we need to talk about your future. But not here and not while we're both exhausted. Meet me in the kitchen. I'll make us some coffee and we can discuss what happens next." Amanda stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Mr. Richards, the billionaire who barely knew she existed, was going to make her coffee? And talk about her future? "Are you coming?" he asked, waiting at the door. "Yes, sir," Amanda replied, hurrying after him, her mind racing with confusion, fear, and the tiniest spark of hope. As she followed him down the long hallway toward the kitchen, Amanda had no idea that this midnight discovery would change the course of her life forever. What Mr. Richards was about to propose would shock her more than being caught ever could. The kitchen of the Richards mansion was larger than Amanda's entire apartment. Gleaming stainless steel appliances reflected the soft lighting, and the marble countertops seemed to stretch endlessly. Amanda had cleaned this room countless times, but she had never sat at the elegant breakfast bar as a guest. Now, perched uncomfortably on a high stool, she watched as William Richards, a man who could buy and sell companies on a whim, moved around the kitchen making coffee. "Do you take cream or sugar?" he asked, his back to her as he reached for mugs from a cabinet. "Just a little cream, please," Amanda replied, still bewildered by the situation. The coffee machine hummed, and the rich aroma filled the kitchen. Amanda's hands fidgeted in her lap. She was still wearing her cleaning uniform, a simple black dress with practical pockets, while Mr. Richards remained in his expensive suit, minus the jacket he'd removed and draped over a nearby chair. He placed a steaming mug in front of her before taking a seat across the island. "So, nursing school," he said, getting straight to the point. Amanda nodded, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. "Yes, sir. It's been my dream for a long time." "How far along are you in your studies?" "I've been taking prerequisites at the community college. One class at a time whenever I can save enough." She took a sip of coffee. It was perfect. "I have about another year of prerequisites before I can apply to the nursing program." Mr. Richards nodded thoughtfully. "And your mother, you mentioned she's ill?" Amanda's gaze dropped to her coffee. This was never an easy topic. "Yes. She has multiple sclerosis. It's been getting worse over the past few years. The medical bills." She trailed off. "That's why you need this job," he finished for her. "Yes, sir. We don't have much family and my father left when I was 16, right after her diagnosis." Something flickered across Mr. Richards' face, anger, perhaps? But it was gone as quickly as it had appeared. "How do you manage her care while working here?" he asked. "She has a nurse who comes in during the day when I'm working. It takes most of what I make, but—" Amanda shrugged. "She's my mom." They sat in silence for a moment, both sipping their coffee. Amanda's mind raced. Why was he asking these questions? Was this some kind of test? "Amanda," Mr. Richards finally said, setting down his mug. "I have a proposition for you." Her stomach tightened. Here it comes, she thought. "I'm not going to fire you for using my study. In fact, I'm impressed by your initiative and dedication." Amanda blinked in surprise. "Thank you, sir. But I think your talents are being wasted as a maid." He leaned forward slightly. "What would you say if I offered to pay for your nursing school? Full-time, not just one class at a time. All expenses covered." The mug nearly slipped from Amanda's hands. What? Why would you do that?" Mr. Richards smiled, but there was something sad behind it. "Let's just say I understand what it's like to have dreams delayed by circumstances beyond your control." Amanda's mind whirled. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. "That's incredibly generous, sir, but I couldn't possibly accept. And even if I could, how would I take care of my mother? The medical bills, the care she needs." "I've been thinking about that too," he replied. "The east wing of this house has a suite that's never used. It has its own small kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, everything needed for comfortable living. Your mother could stay there. I could arrange for full-time nursing care for her." Amanda's jaw dropped. "Mr. Richards, I don't understand. Why would you do this for us? You barely know me." He was quiet for a moment, as if considering his words carefully. "Sometimes, Amanda, people need a chance. Someone to believe in them when the world has made it difficult to believe in themselves." He took another sip of his coffee. "Besides, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Why not use some of it to help someone with real potential?" Amanda felt tears forming in her eyes and blinked them back furiously. She wasn't a crier and she didn't want to break down in front of her boss. "What would you expect in return?" she asked cautiously. She had learned early in life that nothing came without strings. Mr. Richards seemed to understand her concern. "I would expect you to work hard in school. To graduate. To become the nurse you want to be." He paused. "And perhaps to continue working here part-time, not as a maid but as my personal assistant. I could use someone with your organization skills and attention to detail. The hours would work around your school schedule." Amanda's mind was spinning. "A personal assistant? But I don't have any experience with that." "You have more than you think. Those notes I saw? The way you've managed to work full-time, care for your mother, and still study on your own? That shows exceptional organizational skills." He smiled again, more genuinely this time. "Plus, I travel a lot. It would mainly be managing correspondence, scheduling, and keeping things running smoothly here when I'm gone. Something you already do. Sounded too good to be true. Amanda's natural skepticism kicked in. Why me? Surely there are people more qualified. Mr. Richards looked at her directly, his gaze intense. Because I recognize determination when I see it. Because you remind me of someone I once knew who never got the chance you deserve. The kitchen fell silent save for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Amanda's thoughts raced. Could she accept such generosity? What would her mother say? Was there a catch she wasn't seeing? You don't have to decide right now, Mr. Richards said, standing up. Take a few days to think about it. Talk to your mother. But know that the offer is genuine. Amanda stood as well, still dazed. Thank you, Mr. Richards. This is overwhelming. He nodded. I understand. And Amanda? Yes, sir? Until you decide, feel free to use the study properly. No more midnight sessions. You can study there during the day if your work is done. Amanda couldn't hold back the tears any longer. One escaped, trailing down her cheek. Thank you, she whispered. As she walked back to the small staff quarters where she sometimes stayed overnight, Amanda's mind was a hurricane of thoughts. Mr. Richards' offer could change everything for her and her mother. But could she trust it? Could she trust him? She had no idea that across the mansion, William Richards was sitting alone in his study, looking at an old photograph of a woman with his same gray eyes, a woman who had once been a maid with dreams of becoming a doctor, a woman who never got the chance. The sun was setting as Amanda pulled up to the small apartment complex she called home. The building was old, with peeling paint and a perpetually broken elevator, forcing her to climb 3 flights of stairs to reach her unit. Usually, the climb felt like the final burden of a long day, but today she practically floated up the steps, her mind still reeling from Mr. Richards' offer. When she opened the door, she found her mother, Elaine, sitting in her wheelchair by the window, a book in her lap and reading glasses perched on her nose. At 45, Elaine Johnson still maintained the dignified beauty that Amanda had admired all her life, though the disease had taken its toll. Her once dark hair was now streaked with gray, and her hands occasionally trembled even on good days. You're home early, Elaine said with a smile, marking her place in the book. Everything okay at work? Amanda set her purse down and went to kiss her mother's cheek. Actually, Mom, something happened. Something unbelievable. Elaine's eyebrows rose. Good unbelievable or bad unbelievable? I'm still trying to figure that out, Amanda replied, sinking onto the worn couch. The small living room doubled as her bedroom, with a pull-out sofa that she'd been sleeping on for years, giving her mother the only bedroom for privacy and comfort. As Amanda recounted her midnight encounter with Mr. Richards and his subsequent offer, Elaine's expression changed from concern to disbelief to cautious hope. Full tuition for nursing school? And a place for us to stay. Elaine shook her head slowly. Amanda, that's extraordinary. But it seems too good to be true, Amanda finished for her. That's what I've been thinking all day. Elaine wheeled herself closer to her daughter. Have you ever noticed anything inappropriate about Mr. Richards? Any reason to be concerned about his intentions? Amanda shook her head firmly. No, never. Most of the time he barely notices I exist. He's always been professional, if distant. And the staff all say he's fair, even generous with holiday bonuses and such. But still, people don't just offer to pay for a stranger's education and medical care. You said he mentioned someone he knew who never got a chance. Maybe this is personal for him in some way, Elaine suggested. Amanda nodded, remembering the flash of what might have been grief in Mr. Richards' eyes. Maybe. But I still don't understand why me. Elaine reached out and took her daughter's hand. Because you're extraordinary, Amanda. You always have been. Maybe he sees what I've always seen. Amanda squeezed her mother's hand. I don't know, Mom. What if I accept and then we move in and it all falls apart? We'd lose everything. This apartment, my job, maybe even my spot at the community college. Or, Elaine countered, what if you accept and it changes our lives for the better? What if this is the break we've been praying for? They talked late into the night, weighing pros and cons, discussing concerns and hopes. By morning, Amanda was no closer to a decision, her mind a battleground of optimism and caution. 2 days later, Amanda was cleaning one of the guest bathrooms at the Richards mansion when Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper who managed the staff, found her. Amanda, dear, Mr. Richards would like to see you in his office, the older woman said. Amanda's heart jumped. She had been avoiding Mr. Richards since their late-night conversation, taking shifts when she knew he would be out or working in parts of the house he rarely visited. Now, she asked, stalling. Yes, now, Mrs. Winters said with a gentle smile. Don't look so terrified, child. He doesn't bite. The walk to Mr. Richards' home office felt like a march to judgment. Amanda smoothed her uniform and knocked timidly on the door. Come in, called the now familiar deep voice. Mr. Richards was seated behind a large desk, typing on a laptop. He looked up when she entered, and Amanda was struck again by how different he seemed in this private setting compared to his public persona. In the news, William Richards was portrayed as a ruthless business titan. In person, there was a quietness to him, almost a melancholy. Amanda, thank you for coming. Please sit down. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. She sat, folding her hands in her lap to keep them from fidgeting. You wanted to see me, sir? Yes. I wanted to follow up on our conversation. Have you had a chance to think about my offer? Amanda nodded. I have, sir. I've thought about little else, actually. And? His face remained neutral, giving nothing away. I'm concerned, she admitted. Not about your intentions, she quickly added, seeing his expression shift slightly, but about accepting such generosity. I wasn't raised to take handouts. Mr. Richards leaned back in his chair. I understand pride, Amanda. But sometimes pride can keep us from opportunities we deserve. It's not just pride, she countered, surprising herself with her boldness. It's about independence. My whole life I've taken care of myself and my mother. Accepting your offer would make us dependent on you. He nodded slowly. A valid concern. What if we structured it differently? How so? A contract. You would work for me as my assistant while attending school. The position would include housing for you and your mother, health benefits covering her care, and tuition reimbursement as part of your compensation package. Everything would be formalized, legal, with clear expectations on both sides. Amanda considered this. That sounds more like a job than charity. Exactly, Mr. Richards said, a hint of a smile playing at his lips. Because that's what it would be. I need a good assistant and you need an opportunity. It's a business arrangement that benefits us both. Put that way, it sounded more reasonable, more acceptable to Amanda's independent nature. Can I ask you something, Mr. Richards? Of course. Why are you really doing this? And please don't say it's just because you have money to spare. He was quiet for a long moment, his eyes drifting to a small silver frame on his desk that Amanda couldn't see from her angle. My mother was a maid, he finally said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. She worked for a wealthy family in Boston while raising me alone. She was brilliant, should have been a doctor, she always said. But circumstances. He trailed off. She cleaned other people's homes her entire life, died of cancer when I was 19, never got her chance. He looked directly at Amanda. When I found you studying in my office, it felt like the universe giving me an opportunity to right an old wrong. The office was silent as Amanda absorbed this revelation. Suddenly, his interest in her made more sense. She wasn't just a maid to him, she was a reminder of his mother, a chance at redemption perhaps. I still don't know, Amanda said honestly. This would be a huge change. Mr. Richards nodded. Take the weekend. Think it over. Talk to your mother again. The offer stands, but I understand if you decline. As Amanda left the office, her mind was clearer than it had been in days. Mr. Richards' explanation had humanized him, made his offer seem less like charity and more like a connection between two people whose lives had been shaped by similar circumstances. That evening, as she told her mother about the conversation, Elaine's eyes filled with tears. He lost his mother, she whispered. And here I am, getting to watch my daughter chase her dreams. She took Amanda's hand firmly. I think you should accept. Not just for the opportunity but because sometimes, life offers us chances to heal others while healing ourselves. 2 days later, Amanda stood outside Mr. Richards' office again, her decision made. She knocked with more confidence this time. When he opened the door, she didn't wait for him to speak. Yes, she said simply. We accept. But I have some conditions of my own. Mr. Richards smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. I wouldn't expect anything less. Please come in and let's work out the details. As she followed him into the office, Amanda felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope, tinged with the exhilarating fear of stepping into the unknown. Moving day arrived with unexpected speed. Just 2 weeks after accepting Mr. Richards' offer, Amanda found herself directing movers as they carried the few precious belongings she and her mother owned into the East Wing suite of the Richards mansion. The space was more beautiful than Amanda had imagined. A large bedroom with an adjustable hospital bed for her mother, an accessible bathroom with a roll-in shower, a cozy living area, and a small kitchenette. Large windows overlooked the estate's gardens, filling the rooms with natural light. Elaine, seated in her wheelchair by the window, watched with a mixture of awe and apprehension as their lives were rearranged before her eyes. "It's like something from a dream," she murmured when Amanda joined her. "I keep waiting to wake up." Amanda squeezed her mother's shoulder. "I know. I feel the same way." The door to the suite opened, and Mrs. Winters appeared with a tray of tea and sandwiches. "I thought you two might need refreshment. Moving is hungry work." The housekeeper had been unexpectedly supportive of the new arrangement, treating Amanda with the same respectful warmth as always, despite her changing status in the household. "Thank you, Mrs. Winters," Elaine said with a grateful smile. "That's very thoughtful. Mr. Richards asked me to inform you that the nurse will arrive tomorrow morning to meet you, Mrs. Johnson," Mrs. Winters added, setting down the tray. "And Amanda, he'd like to see you in his office at your convenience once you're settled." After Mrs. Winters left, Amanda helped her mother to the table and poured tea for both of them. "How are you feeling about all this?" Amanda asked, studying her mother's face. Elaine took a careful sip of tea. "Honestly? Overwhelmed. Grateful. A little afraid." She glanced around the beautiful room. "Mostly I'm worried about you. This is a big change, taking on a new role while starting school. I don't want you stretching yourself too thin just to give me a better place to live. Mom, this isn't just about you. It's about both of us getting a chance." Amanda reached across the table and took her mother's hand. "And for once, I won't have to choose between work, school, and taking care of you. We'll be under the same roof." Later that afternoon, after making sure her mother was comfortable, Amanda made her way to Mr. Richards' office. The mansion that had once been merely her workplace now felt different, not quite home but no longer foreign either. She knocked on the office door with a confidence she was still growing into. "Come in," called Mr. Richards. He was standing by a wall of bookshelves when she entered, consulting what appeared to be architectural plans. He looked up and smiled. "Amanda, how's the move going?" "Almost finished, sir. Thank you again for the movers. That made things much easier." "Good." He gestured for her to sit in one of the leather chairs across from his desk. "And your mother? Is she comfortable?" "Very. The suite is beautiful, and the accommodations for her condition are perfect." Mr. Richards nodded, clearly pleased. "Excellent. Now let's discuss your new role." He sat across from her, placing a folder on the coffee table between them. "Your official title will be executive assistant. Your duties will include managing my schedule, coordinating with my business office downtown, handling some correspondence, and overseeing household matters when I'm traveling, which is often." Amanda nodded, taking it all in. "That sounds manageable alongside classes. Speaking of which," Mr. Richards continued, opening the folder, "I've taken the liberty of researching nursing programs. Westridge University has one of the best in the state, and their next term begins in 6 weeks. Would that timeline work for you?" Amanda blinked in surprise. "Westridge? But that's a prestigious private university. With an excellent nursing program," he added. "You're qualified academically based on your community college work. I've already spoken to the admissions director." "You have?" Amanda felt a flutter of both excitement and anxiety. 6 weeks seems so soon, but yes, I could be ready by then. "Good. I've scheduled a campus tour for us next week if that suits you." Thus caught Amanda off guard. "You're coming to the tour?" Mr. Richards looked slightly uncomfortable for the first time. "If that's acceptable. I thought it might be helpful to have support. But if you'd prefer to go alone." "No," Amanda interrupted. "Support would be nice. Thank you." He smiled, and for a moment the billionaire businessman seemed almost nervous, human in a way Amanda hadn't fully appreciated before. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Amanda began her new role as Mr. Richards' assistant, learning the complex systems that kept his personal and professional life running smoothly. She visited Westridge University, completed her application with Mr. Richards' recommendation, and was accepted into the nursing program with a start date exactly 6 weeks after moving day. Meanwhile, Elaine settled into the suite, working with the full-time nurse Mr. Richards had hired, a kind, experienced woman named Sophia who specialized in MS care. For the first time in years, Elaine's condition seemed to stabilize, even improve slightly with the consistent, quality care. On a sunny Monday morning, Amanda stood outside the mansion, dressed in new clothes purchased for her first day of classes. Mr. Richards had insisted on driving her himself, waving away her protests that she could take the bus. "Ready?" he asked as she slid into the passenger seat of his surprisingly modest sedan. For someone who could afford any luxury vehicle, his choice of a mid-range car seemed oddly humble. As ready as I'll ever be, Amanda replied, clutching her new backpack filled with books and supplies. I'm nervous. That's natural, he said, pulling out of the driveway. New beginnings are always a little terrifying. The drive to campus was quiet but comfortably so. Amanda watched the city pass outside the window, still adjusting to the reality of her new life. Can I ask you something, Mr. Richards? She finally said. William, he corrected gently. If we're going to be working together, I think you can call me William when we're not in formal settings. William, Amanda repeated, the name feeling strange on her tongue. What made you successful? I mean, I know you built your company from scratch, but what was the key? He considered the question for a moment. Determination, certainly. Intelligence helps. But mostly? He glanced at her briefly before returning his eyes to the road. Timing and opportunity. I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea. Many people work just as hard, are just as smart, but never get that perfect alignment of circumstances. So you believe in luck? I believe in making the most of opportunities when they appear, he clarified. And in creating opportunities for others when possible. The campus came into view, a sprawling collection of brick buildings and green spaces. As William parked the car, Amanda felt a surge of both excitement and terror. What if I fail? She whispered, the fear she'd been suppressing finally surfacing. William turned to face her, his expression serious. Amanda, do you know why I chose you for this? It wasn't just because you remind me of my mother. It was because when I found you studying at 1 a.m, after cleaning an entire mansion, I saw someone who refuses to fail. Someone who makes chances when none are given. He smiled slightly. You won't fail. But if you stumble, I'll be here to help you up. That's part of our arrangement too. His words calmed her racing heart. As they walked toward the nursing building together, Amanda realized that for the first time in her adult life, she wasn't facing a challenge completely alone. Your first class is at 9? William asked, consulting his watch. Yes, anatomy and physiology. Then I won't keep you. The driver will pick you up at 4 as we discussed. Amanda nodded, still unused to the idea of having a driver. Thank you, William. He smiled. Good luck today, Amanda. Though I doubt you'll need it. As she watched him walk back to the car, Amanda felt a strange mix of emotions. Gratitude certainly. Determination. But also something more complex. A connection to this solitary billionaire that she couldn't quite name. Taking a deep breath, she turned and walked into the building, toward her first class, her new life beginning with each step. 3 months into her new life, Amanda sat at the kitchen table in the East Wing suite, surrounded by textbooks and notes, a half-empty cup of coffee growing cold beside her. The autumn sun was setting outside, casting long shadows across the room. Her mother was napping in the bedroom, and the house was quiet except for the occasional sound of staff moving about in distant corridors. Amanda rubbed her eyes, feeling the strain of another late night of studying. The nursing program was more demanding than she had anticipated, and balancing her studies with her duties as William's assistant was proving challenging. He had been true to his word about giving her time for school, but the responsibilities of managing his complex life still required significant attention. A soft knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. She opened it to find William standing there, looking tired himself in a rumpled dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up and his tie loosened. Sorry to interrupt your studying, he said. I just wanted to check if you had a chance to look at the itinerary for the Tokyo trip next week. Amanda winced. I'm so sorry. It completely slipped my mind with the anatomy exam coming up. I'll do it right now. William shook his head. No need. It can wait until morning. He glanced past her at the study materials spread across the table. How's the preparation going? Honestly, not great. There's so much to memorize and I'm worried I'm falling behind. Amanda rarely admitted weakness, but these past months had created a strange sort of trust between them. William hesitated for a moment. May I? He asked, gesturing toward the table. Of course. He walked to the table and glanced over her notes. Anatomy and physiology. I remember this being particularly challenging when I was in school. Amanda looked at him in surprise. You took anatomy and physiology? A small smile played at his lips. I was pre-med for 2 years before switching to computer science. It seems like another lifetime now. This was news to Amanda. In the months they'd worked together, William had shared bits and pieces of his past, But this was the first she'd heard of his original career plans. "Why the switch?" she asked, curious. William's expression grew distant. "My mother got sick during my sophomore year. Medical school would have taken too long, cost too much. I needed to make money quickly to help with her care." He shrugged. "Technology was booming and I had a knack for it. It was a practical decision." The parallel to her own life wasn't lost on Amanda. If not for William's intervention, she might have been forced to make a similar choice. "Well," he said, returning to the present, "I might be able to help with this. Would you like me to quiz you?" Amanda hesitated. It was already 8 in the evening, and William had likely been working since dawn. "Don't you need to rest? I know you have that board meeting tomorrow." "I could use a break from financial projections," he replied, pulling out a chair. "And it's been years since I exercised this particular part of my brain." For the next 2 hours, William quizzed Amanda on anatomical systems, physiological processes, and medical terminology. To her surprise, he was an excellent tutor, explaining complex concepts in simple terms and sharing memory tricks that helped the information stick. "How do you know all this still?" Amanda asked as they took a break, sharing a pot of fresh coffee she'd made. "Some things you don't forget," he replied. "And I've always had a good memory for details. It comes in handy in business." As they continued studying, Amanda found herself relaxing in William's presence in a way she hadn't before. He was patient, encouraging, and occasionally revealed a dry sense of humor that made the grueling material more bearable. When they finally finished, it was after midnight. Amanda felt better prepared for her exam, but guilty about keeping William so late. "I'm sorry for taking up your evening," she said as he gathered his things to leave. William waved away her apology. "Actually, it was refreshing to use a different part of my mind." There was something in his tone, a hint of wistfulness perhaps, that made Amanda wonder if he ever regretted the path not taken. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything." He nodded, a small smile softening his usually serious face. "Get some rest, Amanda. You'll do fine on the exam." The next day, as predicted, Amanda performed well on her test. But the brief glimpse into William's past had raised new questions. Who was this man who had so dramatically changed her life? What had he sacrificed on his own journey to success? Weeks passed, and the rhythm of their new arrangement settled into something approaching normalcy. Amanda excelled in her classes, gaining confidence with each successful exam and project. Her duties as William's assistant became more familiar, less overwhelming. And her mother, with the specialized care now available to her, showed small but significant improvements. One evening in late November, Amanda returned from campus to find an unfamiliar car in the driveway. Inside, she discovered William in the main living room with an older man she didn't recognize. Both men rose when she entered. "Amanda," William said with a smile. "Perfect timing. I'd like you to meet someone. This is Dr. Marcus Bennett, the head of neurology at Metropolitan Hospital and an old friend from my university days." The distinguished-looking doctor with salt and pepper hair extended his hand. "A pleasure to meet you, Amanda. William has told me about your nursing studies." Amanda shook his hand, confused but polite. "It's nice to meet you too, Dr. Bennett." William seemed unusually animated. "Marcus specializes in multiple sclerosis research. He's one of the leading experts in the country." Understanding dawned on Amanda. "For my mother?" "If that's all right with you both," William said. "Dr. Bennett has agreed to consult on your mother's case, perhaps suggest some newer treatment protocols." Amanda felt tears threatening. In all the chaos of school and her new job, she hadn't expected William to be thinking about her mother's medical care beyond what was already arranged. "That would be incredible," she managed to say. "Thank you." Dr. Bennett smiled kindly. "It's my pleasure. Any friend of William's is a friend of mine. And from what he tells me, you're going to make an excellent nurse someday." After they showed Dr. Bennett to the East Wing to meet Elaine, Amanda pulled William aside in the hallway. "You didn't have to do this," she said quietly. William looked down at her, his gray eyes serious. "I know I didn't have to. I wanted to. Marcus is the best, and your mother deserves the best care available." Something shifted between them in that moment, a subtle change in the air, a new awareness. Amanda realized that William's kindness went beyond obligation or charity. He genuinely cared. "Thank you," she said again, unable to find better words. He nodded, a slight flush coloring his cheeks. "You're welcome." December arrived with a flurry of snow and end-of-semester exams. Amanda had never worked harder in her life, dividing her time between intense studying, her assistant duties, and helping her mother adjust to the new treatment regimen Dr. Bennett had prescribed. The results were promising. Elaine had more energy, less pain, and a renewed sense of hope that Amanda hadn't seen in years. The Richards mansion transformed for the holidays, with tasteful decorations appearing throughout the public spaces. It was beautiful but subdued, lacking the warmth of true celebration. Amanda learned from Mrs. Winters that William rarely spent Christmas at home, typically traveling to business conferences or retreating to his mountain cabin alone. "He's not much for festivities," the housekeeper explained as she and Amanda arranged a small Christmas tree in the East Wing suite. The holidays were special to his mother, and since she passed, well, she didn't need to finish the thought. Amanda finished her last exam 2 days before Christmas. She arrived home to find her mother sitting in the living room with a mysterious smile. "What's going on?" Amanda asked, setting down her bag. "We're having a guest for dinner," Elaine said. "Mrs. Winters helped me arrange it. I think it's time we properly thanked our benefactor, don't you?" Amanda's eyes widened. "You invited William to dinner?" "Here. Mom, we can't cook for a billionaire." Elaine laughed. "Why not? He eats food like everyone else. Besides, your grandmother's recipe for pot roast would impress a king." And so, for the first time since her life had changed, Amanda found herself cooking in the small kitchen of their suite, preparing a meal for the man who owned the mansion. The domesticity of it felt strange after months of their more formal employer-employee relationship. When William knocked on their door at 7 o'clock, he looked almost as nervous as Amanda felt. He carried a bottle of wine and a small gift bag. "Thank you for inviting me," he said as Elaine welcomed him in. "I hope I'm not intruding on your family time." "Nonsense," Elaine said warmly. "Christmas is for sharing." The dinner was awkward at first, with stilted conversation and 2 polite smiles. But as the evening progressed, something unexpected happened. William relaxed. He told stories about his early days building his company, laughed at Elaine's gentle teasing, and complimented Amanda's cooking with genuine appreciation. "This is the best meal I've had in months," he admitted, accepting a second helping of pot roast. "I usually eat at my desk. Or skip meals entirely." "That's terrible for your health," Elaine scolded gently. "Amanda, you should make sure he eats properly." "Mom?" Amanda protested, embarrassed. But William laughed. "She's right, you know. You're already an excellent assistant. Maybe you could add nutrition enforcer to your duties." After dinner, they moved to the small living room where Elaine had insisted on placing the modest Christmas tree. William seemed fascinated by the mismatched ornaments, many handmade or clearly passed down through generations. "Each one has a story," Elaine explained, seeing his interest. "That paper star Amanda made in 3rd grade. The glass ball my grandmother brought from Italy. Family history hanging on a tree." William touched a delicate wooden ornament carefully. "We had something similar when I was young. Before my mother got sick. After that, there wasn't much time for traditions." The sadness in his voice touched something in Amanda. On impulse, she handed him the small wrapped package that had been sitting under their tree. "It's nothing fancy," she said quickly. "Just a thank you gift." William seemed surprised. "You didn't need to get me anything." "We wanted to," Elaine said firmly. "Open it." Carefully, William unwrapped the package to reveal a framed photograph. It showed Amanda in her nursing scrubs from a clinical training session, standing proudly beside her mother. Both were smiling widely at the camera. "We thought you should have something for your desk," Amanda explained, suddenly feeling that the gift was inadequate. "To remind you of the difference you're making." William stared at the photograph for a long moment, his expression unreadable. When he finally looked up, his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough. "This means more than you know." He reached for the gift bag he had brought and handed it to Amanda. "This is for both of you." Inside, Amanda found a small velvet box. Opening it, she gasped at the sight of a delicate silver pendant in the shape of a caduceus, the medical symbol of twin snakes around a winged staff. "It was my mother's," William explained quietly. "She bought it when she first dreamed of becoming a doctor. I thought you should have it now." Amanda felt tears forming. "William, I can't accept this. It's too personal, too valuable." "Please," he said simply. "It should belong to someone who's going to fulfill the dream." The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken emotions. Finally, Amanda nodded, accepting both the gift and the responsibility it represented. Later, after William had left and Elaine had gone to bed, Amanda sat alone by the Christmas tree, holding the pendant and thinking about the evening. William Richards had entered their lives as an employer, a benefactor. But tonight he had felt like something else entirely. Something that both thrilled and frightened her. She didn't have a word for it yet, but as she fastened the pendant around her neck, Amanda knew that whatever was growing between them would change things yet again. And this time the change might be the most profound of all. January brought bitter cold and a new semester of challenges. Amanda's nursing program intensified, with clinical rotations added to her already demanding schedule. Working alongside real nurses in hospital settings was exhilarating but exhausting. Many nights she returned to the mansion barely able to stay awake through dinner. William had been traveling more than usual, handling business in Europe and Asia. Their interactions were primarily through email and brief video calls, during which he checked on her mother's progress and Amanda's studies. Despite the distance, Amanda found herself looking forward to these conversations more than she cared to admit. On a particularly frigid Tuesday in late January, Amanda trudged through snow to reach the mansion after a grueling 12-hour clinical rotation at Metropolitan Hospital. The world felt heavy with winter's grasp, and all she wanted was a hot shower and sleep. When she entered the main hallway, she was surprised to find William coming down the grand staircase, a laptop under his arm. He looked tired, with stubble darkening his jaw and shadows under his eyes. "You're back," she said, unable to hide her pleasure at seeing him. "Just for the night," he replied. "I have meetings in Chicago tomorrow." He studied her face. "You look exhausted." Amanda laughed wearily. "That obvious, huh? It was a long day at the hospital." "Have you eaten?" She shook her head. "Not yet. I was going to make a sandwich or something." William glanced at his watch. "I was about to order dinner. The chef's off tonight. Would you like to join me? You can tell me about your clinical work." The invitation was casual, but something in his tone made it feel significant. Amanda hesitated only briefly. "I'd like that. Just let me check on Mom first." 30 minutes later, Amanda found herself in the mansion's rarely used breakfast room, sharing Chinese takeout with a billionaire. She had changed into jeans and a sweater, and William had abandoned his suit jacket and tie. In the soft lighting with snow falling outside the windows, the setting felt oddly intimate. "So," William said, passing her a container of lo mein, "tell me about your clinical experience." Amanda described her day, the patients she'd helped care for, the procedures she'd observed, the small victories and frustrating setbacks that made up hospital work. William listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed genuine interest. "You really love it, don't you?" he observed as she finished a story about helping an elderly patient take his first steps after surgery. Amanda nodded, surprised by his perception. "I do. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It feels meaningful in a way nothing else ever has." "That's rare," William said, a hint of wistfulness in his voice. "Finding work that speaks to your soul. Don't you have that?" Amanda asked. "Your company has changed the technology world. You must feel proud of what you've built." William was quiet for a moment, twirling his fork absently. "Pride, yes. Satisfaction in a job well done. But purpose? That's more complicated." "What do you mean?" He sighed, looking suddenly older than his 38 years. "I built the company out of necessity, to make money quickly when my mother needed care. Then it grew, and growing became the goal itself. More success, more expansion, more wealth." He shrugged. "It's only recently that I've started to question what it's all for." The vulnerability in his admission touched Amanda. "Is that why you're helping me? Looking for purpose?" William met her eyes. "Perhaps partly. But it's not that calculated or self-serving. When I saw you studying that night, something just clicked. It felt right to help." They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the conversation shifting to lighter topics. Books they'd both read, places William had traveled, stories from Amanda's childhood. As they finished their meal, William hesitated, then asked, "How are you really doing, Amanda? With everything, school, work, your mother's care?" The question, asked with such genuine concern, broke through Amanda's usual strong facade. "It's harder than I expected," she admitted. "Not the work itself, but balancing everything. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing at all of it." "You're not failing," he said firmly. "You're doing something incredibly difficult with grace and determination. I see it even if you don't." Their eyes met across the table, and for a moment, Amanda felt something shift between them, the professional boundary blurring, revealing something deeper, more personal. William cleared his throat and stood, breaking the moment. "I should let you get some rest. You have class tomorrow, don't you?" "Yes," Amanda said, standing as well. "And you have an early flight." At the door, William paused. Amanda, I've been meaning to ask you something. What is it? There's a charity gala next month for the hospital foundation. As a major donor, I'm expected to attend. He seemed uncharacteristically nervous. Would you consider coming with me? Not as my assistant, but as my guest. The question hung in the air between them, weighted with implications neither was ready to name. I'd like that, Amanda said softly. William's smile was brief but genuine. Good. We can discuss the details when I return from Chicago. As Amanda made her way to the East Wing, she found herself more awake than she'd been all day, her mind buzzing with thoughts. William Richards was becoming something more than her benefactor, more than her employer. What exactly that meant, and whether she should allow it, were questions she wasn't yet ready to answer. In her suite, she found her mother still awake, reading in bed. You're late, Elaine observed. Everything okay? Fine, Amanda said, trying to sound casual. I had dinner with William. He just got back from his trip. Something in her tone must have given her away, because Elaine lowered her book, studying her daughter's face. Amanda, she said gently, be careful. What do you mean? I see how you look at him. And how he looks at you. Elaine's expression was concerned but not condemning. Just remember that your situations are very different. The power balance isn't equal. It's not like that, Amanda protested, though she wasn't entirely convinced herself. Maybe not yet, her mother replied. But some things grow whether we intend them to or not. As Amanda showered and prepared for bed, her mother's warning echoed in her mind. Was she developing feelings for William? And if so, what would that mean for everything else? Her education, her career plans, her mother's care? She touched the silver pendant she now wore daily, remembering William's expression when he'd given it to her. There had been something in his eyes then, something that both thrilled and terrified her. Something that might change everything yet again. February brought milder weather and a growing sense of anticipation. The hospital charity gala approached, and despite Amanda's insistence that she didn't need anything special to wear, William had arranged for a personal shopper to visit the mansion with selections of evening gowns. This is too much, Amanda protested as she stood in her suite, surrounded by racks of designer dresses while the elegant personal shopper, Margot, assessed her critically. Mr. Richards was very specific, Margot replied smoothly. He wants you to have options that make you feel comfortable and confident. From her chair by the window, Elaine watched with amusement. Amanda, just enjoy this. When else will you get to play Cinderella? After trying on countless dresses, Amanda finally chose a deep emerald gown with a simple, elegant cut. It was the least ostentatious of the selections but still more luxurious than anything she'd ever owned. Perfect, Margot declared. Classic, sophisticated, and the color is stunning with your complexion. Mr. Richards will be pleased. The comment sent an unexpected flutter through Amanda's stomach. She hadn't seen much of William since their impromptu dinner in January. His business travel had continued and her clinical rotations kept her at the hospital for long hours. Their brief interactions had been friendly but professional, with no mention of the growing undercurrent between them. The night of the gala arrived cold but clear, with stars visible through the mansion's tall windows. Amanda stood in front of the mirror in her suite, barely recognizing the woman reflected back at her. The emerald dress fit perfectly, complemented by simple silver jewelry, including William's pendant, which she hadn't removed since Christmas. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, and subtle makeup enhanced her features without overshadowing her natural beauty. You look beautiful, Elaine said softly from the doorway. Like a princess. Amanda turned, suddenly nervous. I feel like I'm playing dress up. No, her mother countered. You look like exactly who you are, a remarkable young woman who deserves every good thing coming her way. A gentle knock at the door announced William's arrival. When Amanda opened it, the expression on his face made her heart skip. He stood perfectly still, taking in the sight of her with unconcealed admiration. Amanda, he said softly, you look incredible. He himself was handsome in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, his usually casual hair styled neatly. In that moment he looked every inch the billionaire business titan the world knew him to be. Thank you, she replied, fighting a blush. You clean up pretty well yourself. William smiled, then turned to greet Elaine. We won't be too late, Mrs. Johnson. And Amanda has her phone if you need anything. Don't worry about me, Elaine insisted. Go enjoy yourselves. It's about time you both had some fun. The drive to the hotel hosting the gala was quiet, a nervous energy filling the car. As they approached the venue, Amanda saw camera flashes outside, photographers capturing the arrivals of wealthy donors and hospital executives. There will be press, William warned. Just stay close to me, smile and keep walking. They can be aggressive, but the security team will keep them at a distance. Amanda nodded, suddenly realizing that this evening would thrust her into William's public world, a world she had only glimpsed from afar until now. When their car pulled up to the entrance, William squeezed her hand reassuringly. Ready? As I'll ever be, she replied with a nervous smile. The next few minutes were a blur of flashing lights and shouted questions. William guided her through with a hand at the small of her back, nodding politely to photographers but not stopping to speak with any of them. Mr. Richards, who's your date tonight? William, over here. Is this your new girlfriend? Miss, what's your name? Inside the grand ballroom, Amanda took a deep breath, relieved to be away from the cameras. The space was beautifully decorated, with crystal chandeliers casting warm light over elegant tables and a dance floor where a small orchestra played classical music. Are you okay? William asked, concerned. Fine. Just not used to that kind of attention. She managed to smile. Is it always like that for you? Unfortunately, yes. One of the less pleasant aspects of success. He offered his arm. Shall we? The evening progressed more smoothly than Amanda had feared. William introduced her to various hospital administrators and donors, always as Amanda Johnson, a nursing student and my assistant, never suggesting anything more intimate. Yet there was something in his manner, the way his hand lingered at her back, how his eyes sought hers across conversations, that hinted at deeper feelings. During dinner, Amanda found herself seated beside Dr. Bennett, who greeted her warmly. Amanda, wonderful to see you again. How is your mother doing with the new treatment protocol? Much better, thank you, she replied, genuinely grateful. She has more good days than bad now. It's made a huge difference. Dr. Bennett nodded, pleased. Excellent. And your studies? William tells me you're at the top of your class. Amanda glanced at William, who was engaged in conversation on his other side. He said that. Indeed. He speaks very highly of you. Dr. Bennett's expression grew thoughtful. You know, I've known William since our university days. It's good to see him invested in someone else's future like this. He's been alone for too long. Before Amanda could respond, the hospital's chief of staff rose to make a speech, thanking donors and introducing the evening's fundraising appeal. When William's name was announced as the lead donor for a new pediatric wing, the room erupted in applause. He stood briefly, acknowledging the recognition with a modest nod before quickly returning to his seat. You didn't tell me about the pediatric wing, Amanda whispered when the speech ended. William shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. It's just a building. It's not just a building, she countered. It's a place where children will receive care. Where lives will be saved. He met her eyes, something vulnerable crossing his face. Perhaps. But it's easy to write a check. What you're doing, becoming someone who will actually provide that care, that's the real impact. After dinner, the orchestra began playing dance music, and couples moved to the floor. William turned to Amanda, a question in his eyes. Would you like to dance? The prospect was both thrilling and terrifying. Dancing meant closer contact, a more personal connection in full view of the city's elite. I'm not very good, she admitted. Neither am I, William confessed with a small smile. But I think we can manage not to embarrass ourselves too badly. On the dance floor, William's hand rested lightly on her waist, the other holding hers as they moved to the music. Despite his disclaimer, he was a capable dancer, guiding her smoothly through the steps. Everyone is watching us, Amanda murmured, acutely aware of curious glances from other guests. Let them watch, William replied, his voice low. I'm only interested in one person's opinion tonight. The intensity in his gaze made her pulse quicken. For a moment, the crowded room seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them, connected by more than the formal dance position. William, Amanda began hesitantly, what are we doing? He understood her meaning immediately. I don't know, he answered honestly. This wasn't part of the plan when I offered to help you with school. But I find myself caring about you more than I expected to. The admission hung between them, neither willing to define it further in this public setting. It's complicated, Amanda said finally. Yes, he agreed. Very complicated. The music ended, breaking the moment. William led her from the dance floor, his hand still holding hers. They were making their way back to their table when a woman's voice called out. William Richards. I thought that was you. They turned to see an elegant woman in her 50s approaching, a knowing smile on her perfectly made-up face. William's expression tightened subtly. "Elizabeth," he greeted her with forced politeness. "It's been a while." "Too long," the woman replied, her gaze shifting assessingly to Amanda. "And who is this lovely young woman?" "This is Amanda Johnson," William said. "Amanda, this is Elizabeth Caldwell, an old friend of my family." Something in his tone suggested friend wasn't quite accurate. Elizabeth's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How charming. William rarely brings dates to these functions. You must be very special." Before Amanda could respond, Elizabeth continued, "I knew William's mother, you know. Worked in the same household for a time. Such a tragedy, her illness. William was so devoted to her." "Elizabeth," William interrupted, his voice tense, "we should really get back to our table. Of course, don't let me keep you." Her gaze lingered on Amanda. "Enjoy your evening, dear. These charity events can be so educational for those not used to such circles." As Elizabeth walked away, Amanda felt William's hand tighten on hers. "I apologize for that," he said quietly. "Who is she really?" William sighed. "The daughter of the family my mother worked for. She feels entitled to comment on my life because she knew me when I was nobody." His jaw tightened. People like her never truly accept that circumstances can change, that the son of a maid can become someone they have to respect. The bitterness in his voice revealed a side of William that Amanda hadn't seen before, the wounds that his success hadn't fully healed. As the evening continued, Amanda noticed more curious glances, more whispered conversations behind hands. She realized that her presence with William was causing speculation. Who was this unknown woman on the arm of one of the city's most eligible bachelors? By the time they left, Amanda was exhausted from the constant scrutiny. In the car driving home, William seemed to sense her fatigue. "I'm sorry if that was overwhelming," he said. "Public events can be draining." "It was fine," she assured him. "Different but interesting." William was quiet for a moment. "Amanda, there's something I need to tell you. About tomorrow." "What is it?" "There will likely be photos of us in the society pages. Speculation about our relationship. It's inevitable with these events." Amanda hadn't considered this. "Oh, will that be a problem for you?" "For me?" William looked surprised. "No. But it might affect you. People may make assumptions, ask questions. Your classmates, the hospital staff during your clinicals. I should have thought of this before inviting you." The realization that their evening would have public consequences hadn't occurred to Amanda. Would people think she was sleeping with her boss? Would it undermine her hard work in the nursing program? "What should we do?" she asked. William hesitated. "We could issue a statement, clarify that you're my assistant and that our relationship is professional. Or we could say nothing and let people think what they will." He met her eyes in the dim light of the car. "What do you want to do, Amanda?" It was a loaded question, asking for more than just her preference about publicity. It was asking what she wanted from their relationship, whether she was willing to acknowledge that something beyond friendship was growing between them. "I don't know," she admitted. "It's all happening so fast." William nodded, understanding. "We don't have to decide tonight. But we should talk about it. About us. Whatever that means." When they reached the mansion, William walked her to the door of the East Wing suite. They stood for a moment in the quiet hallway, the evening's unspoken questions hanging between them. "Thank you for coming with me tonight," William said softly. "Thank you for asking me," Amanda replied. For a heartbeat it seemed he might say more, or perhaps do more. But instead, he simply squeezed her hand gently. "Good night, Amanda." "Good night, William." Inside the suite, Amanda found her mother still awake, reading in the living room. "You're waiting up," Amanda observed, slipping off her heels with a sigh of relief. "Of course I am. I want to hear all about it." Elaine set aside her book. "Was it wonderful? Glamorous?" Amanda sank onto the couch. "It was complicated." Elaine studied her daughter's face. "Because of William?" "Yes. No. I don't know." Amanda closed her eyes briefly. "Mom, I think I'm falling for him. And I think he might feel the same way. But it's so messy. He's my boss. He's paying for my education. He's providing your care. The power imbalance I warned you about," Elaine said gently. "Exactly. How can I know what's real and what's gratitude? How can he know?" Elaine reached for her daughter's hand. "Amanda, I've watched you both these past months. What's growing between you isn't just gratitude or obligation. It's genuine. But that doesn't make the complications any less real. So what do I do?" "You talk to him." Honestly. And you decide together whether what you feel is worth navigating those complications. As Amanda prepared for bed that night, her mind whirling with the evening's events, she knew her mother was right. She and William needed to have an honest conversation about the feelings developing between them. But such honesty required courage, and the willingness to risk the stability she'd finally found. March arrived with unexpected warmth, melting the last of winter's snow and bringing early blooms to the mansion's gardens. Amanda's second semester was in full swing, her clinical rotations now including shifts in the pediatric ward where she found her true calling. Working with children filled her with a sense of purpose that confirmed she was on the right path. Meanwhile, as William had predicted, photos from the gala appeared in society publications and on social media. Speculation about his mystery date ranged from wild guesses to surprisingly accurate assessments. Some articles correctly identified Amanda as William's assistant, while others suggested a secret romance between the billionaire and the unknown beauty on his arm. Neither Amanda nor William had addressed the publicity directly. Their few conversations since the gala had been pleasant but carefully professional, both seemingly hesitant to broach the deeper topic that now hung between them. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, Amanda was studying in the garden when William found her. She looked up from her textbook to see him approaching along the stone path, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater rather than his usual business attire. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Of course not," she replied, moving her books to make space on the bench. William sat beside her, looking out over the blooming garden. "It's a beautiful day." "It is. I couldn't resist studying outside." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the unspoken tension between them not unpleasant but impossible to ignore. "Amanda," William finally said, "I think we need to talk about the gala. About what's happening between us." Her heart raced but she kept her voice steady. "I think so too." William turned to face her. "I've been avoiding this conversation because I'm not entirely sure how to have it. My life hasn't included much space for personal relationships." "Neither has mine," Amanda admitted. "Between work, school and my mother's care, I haven't dated in years." "Is that what we're doing? Dating?" William asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice that seemed so at odds with his usual confidence. Amanda smiled slightly. "I don't know. One dinner and a charity gala doesn't exactly constitute dating in the traditional sense." "Nothing about our situation is traditional," William acknowledged. "That's part of what makes this complicated." "The power imbalance," Amanda said directly, voicing what they both knew was the elephant in the room. William nodded. "Yes, I'm your employer. I'm funding your education. Your mother's care is dependent on our arrangement. It creates questions about consent, about genuine feelings versus obligation." The frank assessment surprised Amanda, though it shouldn't have. William had always been perceptive and direct. "I've thought about that too," she said. "And whether my gratitude might be clouding my judgment." "And?" he prompted gently. Amanda took a deep breath. "And I've realized that what I feel for you isn't gratitude. Or at least not just gratitude. It's something else entirely." William's eyes never left her face. "What is it then?" "Admiration. Respect. Attraction." The words came easier now. "I've seen who you are beyond the billionaire facade. I've seen your kindness, your intelligence, your hidden sadness. And I'm drawn to all of it." Something in William's expression softened. "I've tried to maintain professional boundaries," he confessed. "To remember why I offered to help you in the first place. But somewhere along the way, watching you work so hard, seeing your dedication to your mother and your studies, I found myself thinking about you in ways that went far beyond our original arrangement." The admission hung between them, both liberating and frightening. "So where does that leave us?" Amanda asked. William considered the question carefully. "I don't know. The complications don't disappear just because we acknowledge our feelings." "No, they don't," she agreed. "Perhaps," William suggested hesitantly, "we could try to explore this, whatever it is between us, slowly, carefully. With clear boundaries around your education and your mother's care." "What would that look like?" "Your position as my assistant would become purely professional. No more special treatment, no different than any other employee. Your education funding would be formalized through a foundation, not tied to me personally. Your mother's care would be guaranteed regardless of what happens between us." He paused. "And we would date, like normal people. Dinners, movies, conversations that don't involve work." The proposal was thoughtful, addressing the power imbalance head-on. But Amanda still had concerns. "And what about the public perception? People will say I slept my way into your life. That I'm using you for your money. People will always talk, William said simply. The question is whether what they say matters more than what we know to be true. Amanda considered this. And my studies? My career plans? I won't give those up, not even for whatever this might become. I would never ask you to, William replied firmly. Your dedication to nursing is part of what I admire most about you. They sat together in the garden, the spring sunshine warm on their faces, the future uncertain but suddenly full of possibilities. So, Amanda said finally, dinner and a movie? Like normal people? William smiled, a genuine happiness lighting his usually serious face. Yes, though I might need some guidance. It's been a long time since I did anything normal. Amanda laughed. I'm hardly an expert myself. Then we'll figure it out together. William hesitated, then reached for her hand, entwining his fingers with hers. The simple touch felt more significant than the dance they had shared at the gala. More honest, more real. As they sat in the garden, hands linked, Amanda realized that her life had changed yet again. The billionaire who had caught his maid studying had become something she never could have imagined, not just a benefactor or an employer, but potentially something much more personal, much more profound. Whatever came next would be challenging. The world would question their relationship, perhaps even try to undermine it. The power dynamics would require constant awareness and adjustment. But in that moment, with the spring sun warming their faces and their fingers intertwined, Amanda believed that what was growing between them might be worth the complications. 1 year later, on a perfect May evening, Amanda stood in a hospital corridor, her nursing scrubs pristine, her silver caduceus pendant gleaming at her throat. She checked the chart one more time before entering the room, where a young girl sat in bed, her arm newly cast. How are we doing, Lily? Amanda asked with a warm smile. It still hurts, the 8-year-old replied, lower lip trembling slightly. I know, sweetheart. That's why I'm here with your pain medicine. Amanda efficiently administered the medication, then sat on the edge of the bed. Your mom will be back from the cafeteria soon. While we wait, would you like to hear a story? Lily nodded eagerly, pain momentarily forgotten. Once upon a time, Amanda began, there was a young woman who worked very hard cleaning houses. She had a dream of becoming a nurse, but she didn't have enough money for school. One night, a kind man found her studying in his library. As Amanda told a simplified version of her own journey, Lily's eyes grew wide with wonder. Is that a real story? She asked when Amanda finished. Very real, Amanda confirmed with a smile. Sometimes life surprises us in the best possible ways. Did the maid and the rich man fall in love? Lily asked, ever perceptive. Amanda laughed. Yes, they did. But that was the least important part of the story. What was the most important part? That she got to become a nurse and help children like you. Lily considered this, then nodded seriously. I think both parts are important. After finishing her shift, Amanda walked through the gleaming corridors of the new pediatric wing, the Richards Children's Center, as it was now called. The building had been completed 6 months earlier, its state-of-the-art facilities already serving hundreds of children. Amanda had specifically requested assignment to this wing for her final nursing practicum, a request that had been granted despite some whispers about favoritism. Outside the hospital, the spring air was mild and sweet with the scent of blooming flowers. Amanda checked her watch, she still had time before dinner. Making a quick decision, she turned away from the parking lot and walked to a quiet garden tucked behind the pediatric wing. There, on a simple stone bench, she sat and reflected on the whirlwind of the past year. After their garden conversation, she and William had indeed begun dating, like normal people. As normal as possible when one person was a billionaire and the other his former maid. Their first official date had been to a small Italian restaurant where William had been recognized immediately, much to his chagrin. Their second date had been more successful, a private screening of a classic film in William's home theater, with popcorn and comfortable clothes instead of formal wear. As promised, William had restructured their professional relationship. Amanda's position became strictly defined, her responsibilities clearly documented. Her education funding was transferred to a newly created Richards Nursing Scholarship Foundation, making her its first recipient but removing the direct financial tie to William. Elaine's care was guaranteed through formal legal arrangements, ensuring her security regardless of Amanda's personal relationship with William. The changes hadn't eliminated all complications, of course. There had been tabloid stories, snide comments from hospital administrators who assumed Amanda was sleeping her way to success, and even a few fellow nursing students who stopped speaking to her when the relationship became public. But there had also been unexpected support. Dr. Bennett had become a mentor, helping navigate the hospital politics. Mrs. Winters had defended Amanda fiercely to other staff members. And Elaine had been a constant source of wisdom and encouragement, reminding her daughter that true worth isn't diminished by others' opinions. Most surprising of all had been William himself. The man who had once been so isolated, so focused on business success, had revealed himself to be capable of profound tenderness. He attended every one of Amanda's nursing school presentations. He learned to cook simple meals so they could share normal moments together. He spoke openly about his mother, sharing memories and regrets he had never voiced to anyone else. "I thought I might find you here," a familiar voice broke through her reflections. Amanda looked up to see William approaching, his suit jacket slung over his shoulder in concession to the warm evening. "Just thinking," she said as he sat beside her. "About?" he asked, taking her hand naturally, a gesture that had become comfortably familiar. "Everything. How much has changed in such a short time?" William nodded. "1 year ago today, actually. The night I found you in my study." Amanda looked at him in surprise. "You remember the exact date?" "Of course. It changed my life." His gray eyes held hers. "For the better." They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I saw Lily Matthews today," Amanda said eventually. "The girl with the broken arm. I told her our story." "Did you?" William smiled. "What did she think?" "She wanted to know if we fell in love. Kids always focus on that part." William's expression grew serious. "A reasonable question. What did you tell her?" Amanda turned to face him fully. "I told her yes. We did. We are." It was the first time either had used that word, love, though it had been growing between them for months. William's hand tightened on hers. "I was planning to tell you the same thing tonight. I had it all planned, dinner at that restaurant you like, maybe a walk along the river." Amanda laughed softly. "Sorry to steal your moment." "Don't be," he replied, his voice low. "This is better. Here where it all connects, the hospital you're helping build, the career you've worked so hard for." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Amanda's breath caught. "I was going to wait until after dinner, but now seems right." William opened the box to reveal a ring, not ostentatiously large as might be expected from a billionaire, but a beautifully designed emerald surrounded by small diamonds, elegant and unique. "Amanda," he said quietly, "this year has shown me what was missing from my life before I met you. Not just companionship or even love, but purpose, a shared vision for making the world better. You've changed how I see everything, my wealth, my influence, my future." He held the ring between them, a question and a promise. "I don't want to interrupt your career. I know you're just beginning your journey as a nurse. But I want to walk that journey with you, supporting your dreams as you've supported mine. Will you marry me?" Amanda looked from the ring to William's face, the face that had once been her employer's, then her friend's, now her partner's. She thought of all they had overcome together and all that still lay ahead. "Yes," she said simply. "But on one condition." William raised an eyebrow, waiting. "The Richards Nursing Scholarship has to continue, helping other people like me. Not just one or two but dozens. People who have the talent and determination but lack the opportunity." William's smile was warm as he slipped the ring onto her finger. "Already in progress. The foundation board met yesterday to approve funding for 10 scholarships next year, with plans to double that number annually." Amanda blinked back tears. "You didn't tell me. I wanted it to be a surprise. Part of tonight's proposal, actually." She looked down at the ring on her finger, then back at the man beside her. "William Richards, you continue to shock me." He laughed, the sound joyful and uninhibited in a way that still surprised those who knew only his public persona. "Good. I hope to keep shocking you for many years to come." As the sun set over the hospital, William put his arm around Amanda's shoulders, drawing her close. From this garden, they could see the windows of the pediatric wing, where children like Lily were receiving care in the facilities William's resources had built and Amanda's skills would help staff. "Your mother was right, you know," William said softly. "About what?" "When she said some things grow whether we intend them to or not." He kissed her temple gently. "What grew between us was unexpected, but it's the most valuable thing I've ever been part of." Amanda rested her head on his shoulder, thinking of the long journey from that midnight moment when she had been caught studying in his library. What had seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning, not just of her education or their relationship, but of a new chapter for both of them. Later that evening, when they shared the news with Elaine, her mother had smiled knowingly, as if she had seen this coming all along. "The universe has strange ways of bringing the right people together," she said, admiring the ring on her daughter's finger. "Sometimes it takes a midnight discovery to start a love story." As summer approached, preparations began not just for a wedding, but for Amanda's graduation from nursing school at the top of her class. The staff quarters where she had once worked as a maid were being renovated into a home office where she could continue her medical research after their marriage. The East Wing suite was being expanded to give Elaine more comfortable accommodations as a permanent member of their family. And in hospitals across the city, applications were being reviewed for the next round of Richard's nursing scholars. Men and women with determination and dreams who just needed someone to believe in their potential. 1 year after a billionaire had caught his maid studying late at night, the shock of that discovery had transformed into something neither could have imagined. A partnership built on respect and love, a foundation dedicated to creating opportunities for others, and a future bright with possibility. Sometimes, Amanda reflected as she prepared for her final nursing exams, the most shocking moments in life aren't the ones that tear us down, but the ones that lift us up. The unexpected chances, the surprising connections, the doors that open when we're brave enough to be caught pursuing our dreams.